What's up everyone and welcome back. This video is titled Rude Neighbor Keeps Trespassing on Man's Property, so he teaches him a lesson. This one sounds interesting. The man was being pretty rude, and not only to him. It was affecting his neighbors, too. But what could he do about it? Tim and his wife were excited about their renovations. They had wanted to do this for a long time. Now, they finally had enough funds to build the house of their dreams. Then, the neighbor purchased the house next door and ruined all of their plans. As soon as he moved in, he began complaining about Tim and his wife. First, he commented on their generator, saying it was too loud. The couple needed the generator for when the thunderstorms took away their power. So, there was nothing they could do about that. But then, one morning, Tim saw the neighbor's children setting up sports nets in a third of his backyard without their permission. When Tim went outside to confront the children, he was pleasantly surprised. Unlike their father, the kids were very polite. They apologized for not asking for his permission and said they would remove the nets. Tim said they could keep the nets as long as it was at the back, and they didn't damage anything on his property. A few weeks later, Tim and his wife began renovating their backyard. They hired landscapers and contractors and made a plan. They couldn't wait to turn their backyard into something special, an oasis. Before we continue, if you like this video, please like or subscribe. We'd greatly appreciate it. Now back to the video. Tim was rearranging his patio when he heard a strange sound. Tim looked at his backyard and saw his neighbor speaking with his construction crew. He hadn't mentioned anything to him beforehand. He just entered his backyard and began screaming at everyone. He told the workers to be quiet. Tim couldn't believe what he was hearing. Who did he think he was to boss everyone around? He rushed outside to see what was going on. As he got closer, he heard his neighbor saying, "No, you're doing it wrong, it should be done this way." The contractors were all red with rage. One of the contractors asked Tim, "This guy says you asked him to come over?" Tim couldn't believe it. He approached his neighbor and demanded an explanation. His neighbor acted offended, saying that he was only trying to help him. Tim asked his neighbor to leave them alone. Sadly, this was just the beginning. One Saturday morning, Tim looked outside the window to see his noisy neighbor inspecting the contractor's work. To make matters even worse, his neighbor thought it would be a great idea to play a more personal role. He picked up the paving stones that were still setting in concrete to inspect them before dropping them back down. "What are you doing?" Tim shouted at his neighbor. Before the man had the chance to reply, Tim continued, "Stay away from my property." The neighbor gave him a dirty look and then walked away. Tim knew he needed to do something. Tim called one of the contractors. "Hey, those trees that we were going to put in, can we move them to the back?" When he explained why, the contractor started to laugh. He eagerly agreed and even offered to call the surveyor to help set things up. Not only did the crew move all the trees to the back of his property, but the tree wall now put a thick, distinct border between the two properties. As you can probably imagine, Tim's neighbor was furious. He ran out of his house screaming something about breaking the law. Then, things escalated even further. After a few minutes of running around and swearing, Tim's neighbor pulled out his phone. He called the city surveyor and asked him to come to check out the yard. The surveyor inspected the property blueprints and started to measure. Unfortunately for Tim's neighbor, everything seemed to check out. He hadn't broken any laws. Tim and his wife made sure the tree fence was within the stipulated 8 inches on the side of his property. Now, Tim was fuming. The guy had clearly crossed the line and it was time to teach him a lesson. Tim decided he would do everything in his power to annoy him. A few days later, a thunderstorm rolled in and the couple's generator kicked on. Tim's loud machine started to vibrate between the two houses. His neighbor looked out his window and saw Tim smiling at him. There was absolutely nothing he could do about the noise. Then, Tim came up with another amazing idea. Tim rushed to the store and bought a timer for his generator. He affixed it to the generator and set it to start itself every week and run for 30 minutes. And when the next Saturday rolled around, Tim went on his balcony and waited for the generator to start working again. His neighbor appeared on his balcony in his pajamas, swearing at Tim. "There is no storm," he shouted. "Turn that damn thing off." "I'm running weekly tests," Tim explained. That thing has been playing up lately." After saying that, Tim walked away, smiling to himself. Not only was his backyard project nearly complete, but he was about to buy another home addition. Tim and his wife installed personal security cameras on a few points on his property. He figured it was better to be safe than sorry. He didn't know what to expect from his neighbor. What if one day he decided to come and fix his brand new electrical installation? There was just one last thing he needed to do. Tim shared his bizarre story on a Reddit thread called Petty Revenge. He detailed his neighbor's behavior and then explained how he got revenge on him. Soon, he began to receive a lot of feedback from fellow Redditors. "I dog sit for a family that lives in a heavily wooded area and they have a big generator too," one Redditor commented. "The first time it kicked on to do its weekly thing, I thought the kids next door were idling their dirt bike next to the window. The neighbor should have been nicer. That'll be a pain to listen to weekly for the rest of forever," another person wrote. Most users sided with Tim. "Well handled," wrote one person. "I am satisfied with this revenge," another added. But some users warned that Tim's neighbor might continue to annoy him. Some people went as far as saying that his neighbor may be a threat. Some Redditors suggested that Tim purchase security cameras to gather evidence in case the neighbor doesn't stop bothering him. "This is the type of situation where I would be concerned that my new trees might suddenly die off due to an angry neighbor," another person said. Do you think Tim did the right thing? That's the end of this video. Thank you for watching. As always, if you like this video, please like, comment, or subscribe, and we'll see you in our next video.